What started out so controlled, so clinical, so perfectly planned, ended in chaos, a storm, a gunshot, and a finale still argued about today. How did Dexter Morgan, television's most charming serial killer, end up betraying his own code? And what ending did we almost get? The one that would have changed everything. We're diving deep from Dexter's meteoric rise and the myth of Trinity, through the cultural whiplash of the lumberjack years, to the blood-stained return of new blood. Why did millions of us root for a killer? Where did the show lose control? And what did the creators really want Dexter's fate to be? Part 1. The Rise, the monster that made us listen. He rose fast. When Dexter premiered on Showtime in 2006, it felt like something forbidden had slipped through the cracks of television. We'd had anti-heroes before, Tony Soprano, Vic Mackey, even Walter White soon after, but never one who killed with such surgical calm and made us understand it. Dexter wasn't chaos, he was order wearing the mask of chaos. A blood spatter analyst for the Miami Metro Police by day, and by night, the dark passenger took the wheel. The brilliance of Dexter was that it wasn't asking us to root for murder. It was asking, what happens when someone who can't feel learns to fake it? That's the question that powered the show. Michael C. Hall's performance was electric in its restraint. That quiet inner monologue, that flicker behind the eyes when he forced a smile, it made every scene feel like a confession whispered directly to us. And somehow, we became complicit. We didn't just watch Dexter's kills, we rationalized them. He had rules. He killed killers. That was enough for us. The code of Harry, his adoptive father's way of redirecting the monster, became our moral blanket too. If there's a system, there must be justice, right? But beneath the surface, you could already feel the tension. Harry's voice was never guidance, it was guilt. A whisper that said, you'll never be normal, but at least you can pretend. The early seasons thrived on that contradiction. Miami was neon bright, but morally pitch black. Each episode blurred the line between empathy and complicity a little more, and then came season 4, Trinity. John Lithgow's Arthur Mitchell wasn't just a villain. He was the nightmare of what Dexter could become. The family man who uses love as camouflage. Trinity killed in ritual, Dexter killed with reason, but in the end, both serve the same hunger. When Rita's body is found, the baby crying in blood, it wasn't just the end of a season, it was the death of Dexter's illusion, that he could have it both ways, the monster and the man. And from that moment on, everything else was fallout. Part 2, The Crack, when control becomes addiction. After Trinity, the show stood on the edge of its own knife. And that's when the first real cut appeared. Clyde Phillips, the showrunner who had defined Dexter's rhythm, left. Without him, the code lost its meaning. Dexter became reactive, less precise. He used to kill out of purpose. Now it felt like habit. The ritual, once sacred, turned mechanical. The writers kept searching for new monsters to match him. Jordan Chase, Lumen, Travis Marshall. Each had potential, but none carried that same tragic mirror Trinity held up. Instead of exploring Dexter's inner war, the series leaned into spectacle, and lost the quiet dread that once made it profound. But in that chaos, one story still burned bright. Deborah. Jennifer Carpenter's performance grounded the show when everything else began to float away. Deborah was the audience's last anchor to morality. Every time she cursed, broke down, or questioned herself, she reminded us what humanity looked like in this twisted universe. And her love for Dexter, once sibling affection, then something darker, became the series' most dangerous weapon. When she discovers who he really is, the screen doesn't explode, it implodes. No blood, no screams, just silence. Because the moment she sees him, we see him. Not as a vigilante, not as justice, but as a man who's run out of lies. That reveal should have been the beginning of the end. The slow unraveling of a man who built his morality on denial. But instead, Showtime renewed Dexter. The network wanted more seasons, more ratings, more blood slides, and the show began to devour itself. By season 8, Dexter wasn't just hiding from the world, he was hiding from the story that made him fascinating. His code had become an excuse for inertia, and the inevitable end, the reckoning, kept being postponed, until it finally came, in the form of a hurricane. Part 3, The Storm, The Lumberjack, and the Lie We Couldn't Forgive. You know the scene. The storm building, Deborah dying in a hospital bed, Dexter carrying her body into the ocean, the sky closing in, and then silence. Cut to Oregon, flannel, beard, the woods. The man who killed hundreds is now cutting logs. Dexter Morgan, the lumberjack. For many, it was an insult. A coward's ending for a show that once had the courage to stare into the abyss. But underneath the frustration was a truth, a theme, half finished. The writers wanted to show that Dexter's punishment was life, isolation, silence, exile. The man who spent years pretending to feel now has nothing left to pretend for. That's poetic in theory. But the execution felt empty. Literally. The storm looked like an escape. The beard looked like denial. There was no closure, just evasion. Here's what most people don't know. The original ending was very different. Clyde Phillips once revealed it publicly. Dexter on death row. The injection ready. He looks into the glass, and in every seat of the viewing room sit the ghosts of his victims. Watching. Waiting. He smiles faintly, and as the poison enters, we hear his inner voice for the last time. Then, silence. That was the real full stop. No beard, no flannel, just consequence. It would have reframed the entire show, not as escapism, but as tragedy. A story about a man who finally understands what he's done, just as he ceases to exist. But Showtime said no. Dexter was too valuable to die, and in trying to keep him alive, they killed the magic instead. Part 4. The Return, New Blood, and the Reckoning that finally hit. For 8 years, Dexter lived in cultural purgatory. A meme, a punchline. Until one day, the Dark Passenger came back. Dexter, New Blood, a sequel, a reboot, a confession. Gone were the palm trees, the warmth, the pastel crime scenes. Now it was snow, silence, and small-town restraint. Dexter lived under a fake name, Jim Lindsay, and worked at a gun shop. The irony was perfect. He's sober, celibate, supposedly cured, but you can see it in his eyes, that constant vibration of control about to snap. He doesn't kill anymore. He fantasizes about killing. And that's even worse. Then Harrison arrives, the son who grew up without a father, carrying the same darkness, and suddenly the series becomes something deeper than redemption. It becomes inheritance. Harrison doesn't want to understand Dexter, he wants to escape him. But blood recognizes blood. Their scenes together are quiet bombs. Every smile laced with a resentment, every silence heavy with genetic guilt. And when Dexter kills Logan, the innocent cop, to save himself, that's the final betrayal. Not of a code, but of the audience. He's no longer the careful predator we admired. He's a desperate man cornered by the life he built. When Harrison points the gun, it's not revenge, it's mercy. The one thing Dexter could never give anyone else. That gunshot isn't shock value, it's math. Every sin, every lie, every rule bent until it snapped. One pull of a trigger, one breath, one end. Behind the scenes, there's poetic justice too. Clyde Phillips, the man who'd once walked away, returned to finish the job. And this time, he didn't flinch. No storms, no beards, no escape. Just blood, honesty, and silence. Ending. Why we still need Dexter. In the end, Dexter was never about murder. It was about imitation, about a man trying to copy the emotions he couldn't feel, and the terrifying truth that maybe we were doing the same. We laughed at his dark jokes, justified his kills, quoted his code. Because deep down, we all crave order in a world that doesn't play fair. Dexter was our illusion of control, wrapped in plastic. The lumberjack ending hurt because it looked away. New Blood hurt because it finally looked back. And somewhere between those two extremes, denial and acceptance, lies the real heart of Dexter Morgan. We didn't want to see him die. We wanted to see him understand why he had to. And the moment he did, everything finally stopped.